Thank you so much for taking a few minutes with me this morning. I'm Michelle Munson, CEO and co-founder of Eluvio. If you'd like to come visit with us during NAB, we're on the second floor in West Hall in meeting room 237, I think it is. You'll find us up there. I have the honor this morning to talk about the content fabric in the context of sports. And our claim is that it is the most powerful platform for content distribution and monetization. This talk will be a bit of a teaser for a keynote that I'm giving later today at 1 o'clock in our room. And what I'd like to take you through is how this unique technology that we've created for content hosting and distribution is being applied in live and on-demand sports in order to enable a whole new level of not both fan experience and also monetization of the content. You might be wondering, what is the content fabric? This is a technology that our company invented based in software that provides a global distribution network. One of the most interesting and novel facets of it is that it has a unique architecture that allows for the processing of the content to occur in place in the network. It also is designed in a way that is content native, allowing for unlimited reuse of the same content. Taking those points together, it allows it to be uniquely fast and low latency. It allows it to be uniquely efficient, and typically we're talking about 10 times more efficient in cost and network storage and hosting resource usage compared to traditional clouds and CDNs. It's also carrying the rights in the content itself, which allows it to be directly monetizable without adding on external entitlement systems or rights systems. It's secure end-to-end. Every session to every viewing user is completely monitorable and, if you will, in analytics, traceable. And with that, it is also data-driven, which makes it AI native. And we're showing here, and I'm going to talk to later on in my talk this morning, several unique capabilities, including highlights generation directly from the live stream driven through AI running in the Content Fabric platform. So with that as an introduction, let's talk through the agenda today. I'm going to set the context of these features in the case of one of our customers, European Professional Club Rugby. They are a mid-tier federation that is global, that runs both the Investec and Challenge Cup championships. They stream roughly 100 to 120 matches per year, and they use the content fabric end-to-end for all facets of their OTT streaming direct to fans globally, the sales of the individual passes that authorize the games and the subscriptions, and they also use it for the live to VOD, which becomes their monetizable archive. In this use case, you'll be able to see directly what happens on a weekend like this. We just got done streaming this weekend about 15 matches, and in the process, every match, interestingly, the live source is the only source of content in the network. Every other derivative is dynamically created from that live source. What that means to media folks is we're out of the game of having to create files and export, retranscode, and redistribute. And that's all the way through the pipeline. What this means is that they have extremely low cost. And I'll show you they're running at margins that are over 70% profit today. The second thing that they do is that they use the built-in rights that are part of the content objects in order to allow for authorization and the enforcement of the broadcast licensing windows. What do I mean by that? They have sold broadcast licensing rights like most media companies in certain territories. So the content fabric's authorization capabilities differentially enforce on every stream the allowance for that stream offering to be available, sold, and streamed only by users in territories that are not licensed. And this, of course, opens up the entire globe across the entire library of their content to be monetized directly. As I go through, I'm going to talk to the key features of our current release called the Bangkok release. We give a name to each release series of the content fabric. This is what we're showing here at NAB. And in that, you're going to see how the core protocol provides for advanced audio and video features in the protocol, not having to go to separate transcoding and packaging stacks, and also how inline video intelligence allows for both discovery of what's in the content and then the creation of highlights and derivative compositions directly from the live to VOD stream. Finally, I'm going to show you how the property looks and works. We provide full stack OTT sites and digital properties for browser and TV that are zero code. That means that as a user of the content fabric, you can stand up your own OTT property without having to write any front end. Additionally, it self-brands with all the media and the visuals directly from the fabric. And then you have transaction analytics and viewing analytics for every viewer session across the board. Finally, to see a live distribution demo, please come and visit us at the Eluvio suite on second floor, and I'll be doing a full 1 hour deep dive of what I'm doing in 30 minutes at 1 o'clock today and 1 o'clock again tomorrow. All right, let's get started. You might be wondering after I've said all this, what in the world is this thing called the content fabric? First and most importantly, it's the next generation content distribution network. But very uniquely, it's based on a software technology that we invented. That technology allows for content native addressability, routing, and real-time full-featured video functions in the protocol. Why did we do this? Well, up until this, there has been a very siloed sort of set of workflows for doing streaming, transcoding, packaging, distribution, and multi-CDN to the consumer. We all know how hard it is. We also all know how much it costs. Finally, with the advent of AI, it's been very difficult to really harness the power of the data. The fabric is very different in this way. It's hyper efficient, it's fast, it's secure and verifiable. The data drives each composition, and it finally allows for unlimited monetization. At the core of this is a novel content routing and addressability approach in software that we created and powers this in a software stack that runs across a network of nodes of unlimited size and scale. Why would we do this? I think most people are very aware of how much video there is to be monetized on the internet. Yet, media applications are trapped by siloed complexity, and the cloud and CDN costs to get to distribution monetization are prohibitive to profitability. We've seen this as a tremendous problem in the industry, and it is leading to mass consolidation and has also led to many difficult economic times. The argument is with a different approach in a content native addressable protocol that encapsulates what we usually do separately with files in these workflows, we can gut out so much of the cost and so much of the complexity. So if you think about how CDNs and cloud stacks have always worked, they've been file-based variants that are created at the forefront of the distribution, creating more and more versions, and those then all have to be distributed through various CDNs. And then, of course, with that redistribution, in the case of live, there are constant battles with latency, and the user session context is lost. So many times, if you're a content distributor, you have no idea what's happening to the viewership of your content. Or if you have something, it's at the mercy of the providers between you and the viewer. There's also an explosion of duplication in most of the media that we distribute. Think about the case I mentioned with live. A live stream becoming the rewatchable VOD that's also AI processed to make the highlights is all the same thing. And yet, in the old workflows, there would be very many variants that are created, which involves storing those files, transcoding and redistributing those files, and paying for all the consequent costs, including the cloud egress, and finally, the CDN hosting and distribution. And of course, the costs of this keep going up. The cloud's even more expensive than the CDN spend. Finally, it's very clear that we live in a world where the media, the metadata, and the processing are not tied together. And now we've added AI into this, which makes it even more complex to try to do anything functionally useful with the AI. And lastly, It's also very difficult as a result to be able to monetize everything that hasn't been sold and licensed, especially if you're not a really big brand. So this brings me to the Content Fabric, which is a unique technology for content native, just-in-time, tamper-proof distribution of all forms of media at scale. It's open, fast, scalable, just-in-time, personalizable, and hyper-efficient. Who are we? We're the team who created it. I started Aspera as the first phase of my career, and we launched Eluvio to bring this technology into market at IBC in 2019. And over the span of the pandemic and then post that, we have been building up its maturity for live events. You'll see that in the last year, we have been used in several marquee streaming opportunities to provide this kind of end-to-end distribution in the novel way of the Fabric. Global network, just-in-time playout. One very unique property of this is inside of the network, all media is represented in a componentized way. That means that there's inherent reuse without dealing with files. The Content Fabric pipeline, unlike most distributions, builds everything on demand upon request. It's not doing this with simplified cloud functions, however. It's doing it through the entire protocol. And then finally, all of the on-chain publishing and authorization creates offerings which have policy that then govern rights and windowing. So, for example, in the EPCR case I'm going to show you in a moment, all of the policies that you will see are controlling the authorization for the global windowing of the content. And then just-in-time versioning is inherent. If you are doing localization or personalization, such as this the Spider-Verse from Sony, you can see that one source objects creates all 90 plus of the global localized variants. So now we get to our latest release of Bangkok. I'm just going to show a few key ideas today, and please come see us for details. Most importantly, at the very top is the core capabilities in streaming. Ultra low latency characterizes everything that we do without brute force and without changing standard Dash or HLS streaming. For example, we do direct to business, B2B, transport stream distribution to SRT outputs with sub-second latencies consistent globally. We also provide direct to consumer Dash and HLS from one source object in under 3 seconds end to end. And finally, we combine that together into full application stacks that allow for doing this in any OTT or archive monetization example. You will see today our new live video feed distribution directly through the Fabric, which allows for, so I'm going to go back. I wanted to spend one more time on that, which allows for any scalable B2B video feed case globally to be distributed through the Fabric with unlimited SRT outputs to clients and affiliates. You will also see, my animation doesn't come through here, but you will also see ultra low latency live streaming as it works directly through the Fabric. And then finally, our tooling, our live stream manager for easy setup, point and click streaming, zero copy live to VOD. That means as the live stream is happening, the live parts that are in the Fabric are directly reused for creating the VOD. And that zero copy can be combined together to also enable DVR for all of the watchers off of that session. Understand what I mean by this. One live distribution with its parts in the Fabric is producing the live stream, all of the catch-up viewing for any user that's going back in DVR, and finally, the watchable VOD without making any new parts. This is foundationally different than any video workflow has been before. Of course, you can have advanced features with unlimited multi-audio, captions, and subtitles. And then finally, you can also stitch in third-party ad content. And again, this is a case where due to the dynamic componentized way the Fabric works, we can solve the server versus client-side dilemma. Why? Because at the just-in-time output, it is possible to stitch in based on study marker triggers dynamic generation of manifests, which is what the fabric does by default, any ads either from the fabric or through third-party ad stitch. And because all of that happens on the same raw distribution pipeline, the personalization can be unlimited without having to go client side and still remain efficient. Finally, in terms of scale, one of the great things about this architecture is it doesn't have inherent scalability limits. When you're doing live streaming, you do not have to go back to the origin to redistribute a manifest or to re-push any new chunks of content or new versions. Instead, the given parts in the network are called upon through the just-in-time request to make the live streaming output. It's client number independent. It guarantees deterministic performance regardless of where you are around the globe. And you'll see in our content analytics, these sub 3-second latencies for 2-second videos end to end in streaming, sub-second latencies end to end for SRT. And then finally, a location independent determinism, which just doesn't usually come in streaming architectures. Content analytics. You have views and in-depth detail on every single session through the fabric, regardless of what it's accessing. You also can then take that, and because we have all the session data, you can use that for granular analytics and reporting on audience and on purchases. And this is where it gets really juicy and fun, because our customers now sell their media directly on the fabric and then have inline real-time reporting of those sales. The entitlements are produced by the fabric as minted entitlements in the fabric's protocol. One of the things that makes it very special is that it is owner controlled and that every address has a foundational ownership based on the blockchain nature of the protocol. Transactions are all summarized by product and by country. And you can generate any kind of customizable views across all of your analytics. This brings me now to full stack monetization in sports. So our platform ends up being more than your average CDN and more than your isolated cloud microservices. It provides a complete way in the end-to-end protocol to achieve consumer-grade, full-featured media platforms without the CDN or the media cloud. We provide full-stack OTT sites. You can also use the APIs if you have your own applications. And those full-stack OTT sites are on TV, browser, and mobile. Getting into EPCR TV, what is going on there? And I also included URC, the new additional rugby federation that's joining now EPCR TV based on the success over the last 6 months. And together they will be over 300 live stream matches per year over this next year. Let's see what EPCR TV does with this. First of all, they're taking advantage of all of the core features I talked about. Then they're also taking advantage of the access control, rights, and sell-through. Finally, and the end state, they're taking advantage of clipping, highlights, and in-place search. Here's what the site looks like and the property. And now we'll go a little slower so you can enjoy the experience as the fans do. First, users can watch live matches and access all live matches immediately after the match. We just got done running matches this weekend. All of the VODs were on the website in under 10 minutes, and they're usually on the website in under 5 with no file export, no retranscoding. Secondly, users are individually authorized, so we'll go on through, to be able to watch individual matches based on what they purchased, either a season pass or individual game passes. And there are advanced features that are served directly from the fabric that allow for taking advantage of the split screen view. By the way, this is built into our media wallet properties, being able to do picture-in-picture switching. All of this is served at high frame rate, 4K HDR on down. You can customize the viewing experience as a user, choosing audio tracks, allowing you to watch the match with or without commentary, and choose the language commentary. By the way, the language commentary is preserved. You can join a live stream in progress or catch up from the beginning with built-in DVR. And of course, you can enjoy it on your connected TV or on the browser. Now, mind you, this federation has only one technical operator, one in the staff. We receive the live oh, by the way, choosing your passes, you purchase in line, checkout, all the checkout is fully localized in currency and goes through Stripe and mints the entitlement for the passes the user's own. Here's what it looks like as users are playing out. In our embeddable player, we have built out with these advanced features. You can still use any standard Dash or HLS player with the Fabric. Let's look at what they're now achieving out of this. In traditional monetization, EPCR, for example, had only significant licensing checks, if you will, in the United States from a streaming provider here and a couple of other streaming providers in Europe. Not very many. And they were becoming more and more pressed to get licensing done through broadcasters. All the globe was untapped. All the rest of it. And in addition to that, their individual matches and 10 years of archive had many combinations that were unlicensed. So the opportunity is to make it possible to license all of that. And the Content Fabric does exactly that through EPCR TV. Every single window on all content, live and archive, is enforced dynamically through the content object policy. And there are 9 different policies that are applied across 106 countries in the world dynamically on the user's request. That is also enforced in purchasing. So you can differentiate between purchasing and playout, allowing users to take their subscriptions when they travel. No more building separate entitlement systems. So for the first part of the season, up till January 20th, 60,000 streaming hours in 4 weekends, 129,000 unique viewers. And then you can see this is a medium-sized streaming property in terms of how many people stream. Show you a little bit about the experience, top purchase countries. And then finally, how did they run it? Creator Studio is our application for CMS that allows to configure the media and the website as well as the TV property so that it's all served dynamically directly from the Fabric, no additional stack needed. Live streams, obviously. And then I wanted to point out all content, because of the Fabric's version hashing and ownership model, is verified when it is streamed by the user. See the verification in the bottom right? That verification allows for seeing the legitimate content owner and also verifying this isn't a fake. This is a foundational technology of the Fabric. And if you're interested, please come visit with us. This is C2PA compliant, and we're probably the only platform in the world that provides this kind of provenance and authenticity on content end to end. Okay. I have about 6-7 minutes left. So in that time, I want to talk to the video intelligence that goes along with the streaming. One of the unique properties of our platform is that we spent a lot of time over the last 5 years building an advanced multimodal AI stack. And that stack consists of multimodal tagging of content across about 10 different models, including also celebrity recognition, landmark, OCR, logo, speech to text, action recognition, shot detection, and several generative models as well. We run that in a pipeline that then powers a multimodal search. And that multimodal search allows for selection of content along with powering various generative APIs that we have built into the Fabric for generating highlights directly from the live to VOD, generating compositions, all of which play out directly from the Fabric, no copies, summarizing content, captioning content, finding topics, and selecting key moments. We are bringing out a brand new application here at NAB called the EV, the Eluvio Video Intelligence Editor. This is extremely exciting because it allows you in place on the Fabric to automatically create clips, to generate personalized highlights and compositions with the inline AI assistants, and to be able to share and play those out with anyone or with restriction. And that completes the entire cycle with no file exports, no file copies, no moving around of what we would consider the highlight and linear channel composition off the back of the live divide. I'll just share some of the key features. You can create clips, create, download, and share. Review and curate all of the tags that the ML tagging service provides. Create and publish the compositions directly. And that's the playable side. And here you can see one of the personalized compositions we made for Finn Smith, a player-specific version of the team highlights from Northampton Saints. Browse and manage image assets and also review captions. And you'll see here we had a very exciting project that we did for the Super Bowl with Imagine, wire service, and who is owned by Gannett Publishing, to automatically ingest and caption all of the photos from the Super Bowl. And then finally in EV, your highlights generation pipeline runs to allow us with prompts to then create personalized highlights that then fill out the clipping, search, and highlight generation case in live sports OTT. I want to wrap up with one more customer use case. Last summer, we had the honor to stream for UEFA, the wrist streaming service. And in that, we were tasked with being able to deliver ultra low latency streaming around the globe to all of their licensees for the 51 matches. This was such an exciting project, and we look forward to showing you what we did upstairs. You can see that's the final match, Spain versus England. This is what the site looked like. Also zero code, fully integrated with their back end. It was all automated, powered by the tools. And finally, what we did at the Super Bowl, and I'll show you the final product. You can see the Super Bowl top 100 image collection with all of the auto captioning. The captions were not generated by people. They were generated by our AI inline on the fabric itself. And with that, I'm going to take questions. Obviously, I've got a lot of opportunities here, and I think I'll stop. Any questions from the audience?
So, loving the presentation, and thank you very much. That's all super clear, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff that's very interesting. I just wondered whether it was of interest to yourselves. There's some real service possibilities there within the broadcast community rather than being to the home. And
totally, yes.
It just, it's kind of a matter of bandwidth more than anything else, perhaps. Yeah. I just wonder whether that's a direction you're thinking that Eluvio might go.
Yes. So this year in particular, due to demand, we built the direct distribution for broadcasters with SRT outputs, which takes a live feed ingest raw from transport stream and distributes it in the Fabric way with the sub-second latency for unlimited affiliate playout. And what that means is it all goes through the same parts pipeline, but it's, first of all, broadcast suitable, replacing satellite with this efficiency, and then allowing for all the dynamic functions that you would typically think of needing to be done, such as end-to-end encryption or forensic watermarking or even stitchable inserts, depending on where you want to do it in the pipeline, now becomes a reality. And so this is exactly how we've complemented the stack. And I think the real contribution of this platform is to be able to have constant reuse. There's no reason that the broadcast distribution needs to be done differently than the direct-to-consumer distribution once and for all. Right. And any other questions?
Thank you. I'm really interested by the deep analytical capabilities, especially if they help us go beyond traditional audience demographics. Yeah. So how are you thinking about using your analytics to segment audiences in more nuanced ways?
This is such a great question. So let me tell you how we got started. And this is, I think, very illustrative. So credit to Warner Brothers. 2 years ago, when we came out and people were seeing what our technology could do, they approached us about doing a new type of sell-through of movies. And we ended up distributing on the platform 3 of their movies over the course of a year. And in that case, the end-to-end analytics were gathered. And then we did cross viewership analytics directly on that, which then showed the superfan trends, if you will, clustering. And then from there, because it was a monetization case where the movies were sold and sell through just like EPCR sells their live streams, then it became a strategy about, well, then this particular viewer or wallet in this case, right, is a candidate for these types of suggestions. Also, it was very interesting to see that the natural community forms, and I think in the highlights that we're doing now, that really you could turn around and let the fans be the marketing, because it would be trivially easy to let them have the EV where they can just go in and cut the highlights and they make the URL, they share it on social, and there's your marketing. You don't even have to pay for it anymore. That's it. Right? So I think this is the way to think about audience. And then lastly, it's absolutely transparent. In fact, the guy sitting next to you wrote the software for the usage collection across the platform, and we get every single session. One more thing is not just the content. There's also all the ancillary promotional videos and stuff on the sites. All of that is also served from the Fabric, which makes it very convenient because you can see where they are without having to put trackers from the usual suspects onto the site. You can literally get the website traversal patterns by just looking at how much weight there is on the banners on the front end versus the rest of the watching, right? And then finally is who watches what. It's absolutely clear without giving away PII. And those of you from Europe, I really want to talk to this because I think many of the complexities of the GDPR go way down in this platform because personal identifying information does not have to attach to the session or the authorization, but there's still a unique identifier for that user, which is their address. Right. Any other questions? Yeah, I have to get off. Thank you. Please come upstairs and see us.